Hi, it's Paula. I'm here. I am sitting
there.
here with
You're everywhere.
with
Doesn't matter where you
Richard
go, there you are.
and Nessa
Hey,
and
Nessa.
Jason and of course I'm going to read to you from A Tale of Two Cities because that's what I'm listening to
Which
right
two
now.
cities are they?
Paris and London.
Yeah, London and Paris.
Okay.
Rochester and Lackawanna.
No. So I just thought this was interesting, and and it kind of parallels what's going on in our government right now a little bit. It's the Marquis is one of the French aristocrats that the revolution was fought against. And Charles Darnay is his nephew, but he changes his last name because he takes his mother's last name because he believes that the aristocrats are, it's way out of line, okay? So they're discussing the repression of the poor in this little blurb that I did edit for Jason's sake because I respect his opinion and he was right because it was, I could have taken some garbage out. Okay. Our not remote, and this is the Marquis talking. Our not remote ancestors held the right of life and death over the surrounding vulgar. We have lost many privileges. A new philosophy has become the mode, and the assertion of our station in these days might, I do not go so far as to say would, but might, causes us real inconvenience. All very bad, very bad. We have so asserted our station, both in the old time and in the modern time also, said the nephew gloomily, that I believe our name to be more detested than any name in France. Let us hope so, said the uncle. Detestation of the high is the involuntary homage of the low. There is not, pursued the nephew, in his former tone, a face that I can look at in all the country around about, which looks at me with any deference on it but the dark deference of fear and slavery. A compliment, says the Marquis, to the grandeur of the family, merited by the manner in which the family has sustained its grandeur. Ha! And he took a gentle little pinch of snuff and lightly crossed his legs. Repression is the only lasting philosophy. The dark deference of fear and slavery, my friend, observed the Marquis, will keep the dogs obedient to the whip as long as this roof looking up to it shuts out the sky. Sir, said the nephew, we have done wrong. We are reaping the fruits of wrong. We have done wrong, repeated the Marquis with an inquiring smile and delicately pointing first to his nephew, then to himself. And this legacy has left me, answered the nephew, bound to a system that is frightful to me, responsible for it but powerless in it, seeking to execute the last request of my dear mother's lips and obey the last look of my dear mother's eyes, which implored me to have mercy and to redress and tortured by seeking assistance and power in vain. Every fine straight line in the clear whiteness of the Marquis's face was cruelly, craftily, and closely compressed, while he stood looking quietly at his nephew, with his snuff-box in his hands. Once again he touched him on the breast, as though his finger were the fine point of a small sword, with which, in delicate finesse, he ran him through the body, and said, "My friend, I will die perpetuating the system under which I have lived." When he had said it, he took a culminating pinch of snuff and put his box in his pocket. Better to be a rational creature, he added, then, after ringing the small bell on the table, and accept your natural destiny.
So, and there was a silent film of Scaramouche. People know that from Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Scaramouche, Scaramouche.
Yeah.
Well, there was a silent film, and it ends with the beginning of the French Revolution, and they had people that were actually amputees.
Oh.
Like the sword here, it goes, and the arm falls off. It looks really real.
Yeah, I bet it does.
Yeah, but that's just it. The people people who benefit. People are revolutionary until they're in charge, and then they become reactionary because.
Nothing changes but the law.
Right.
Well, if you're
Yeah.
if you're a true revolutionary, you should accept being deposed by the next guy.
Like when Obama came into power and he made all those promises, none of which he kept.
Well, I have a poem.
Here's the chocolate bush.
I have a poem I wrote about. I heard something on NPR years ago, and the poem is about this woman who was being interviewed, and she talked about how she and her compatriots had such spirit to want to change everything and make life better for the people who were dying in the streets, and how they felt this way, and the people that died were the lucky ones because when they got
To get out of here.
well, but because they died with a dream, because the ones that actually made it through to when the revolution was over,
I thought dreams died when you were a kid.
yeah, had to live with what actually happened. You know, which
Well-
was the same. Everything was the same, except with just different people at the top.
Right, like the what say the old boss is the same as the new boss, or flip that, new boss is the same as the old boss.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
boss, Bruce Springsteen.
To make an omelet, you got to break some eggs.
Oh God.
What kind of eggs? Ostrich eggs?
I don't know how
You
that.
can even use quail eggs. I mean, you just need to use more
You need
of
like
them.
100 of them, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that applies to the situation.
Well,
But
no, the thing is that
It doesn't.
living through it versus dying, living through it, you have to break some eggs. That anybody who loves the law or sausage should never watch either one being made.
yeah, I just feel like there's not a lot of hope for humanity if that's what happens every single time that there's a revolution.
This
at
time
the
it'll be
other
different.
end.
No, I mean that's
Oh,
the
yeah,
thing
yeah, I
because
know.
that this time it'll be different. Well, guess what?
I'll bring that poem next time about
Yeah,
the
it's
revolution.
like Lucy with the football telling Charlie Brown it's
yeah,
going to be
she's
different this
changed. Yeah,
time.
I've changed. I'll never do that again.
Right.
Yeah. So
Well, looking back at Peanuts, they're not funny.
They're not. They're sadistic.
Well,
they're not
but
sadistic.
not even
They're-
describing
they're
anything.
They're thought provoking.
Well, not even that. Even just looking at many of them, it's just like
Boomers love them. They always use them in horrible memes.
Yeah. Well, they also have some people who write some other text for
Yeah,
the,
they do.
Yeah,
Well,
and those I
Like
find those
Snoopy on
funny.
the crucifix and shit. Yeah.
the better was Calvin and Hobbes when Hobbes was doing the math problems, like the numerator, which is Latin for number eighter, and you know. And because back when I was in high school, so mind you, nearly 40 years ago, when I was taking calc,
You took that?
and I gave it back.
I avoided it at all costs. I
Well,
wouldn't
yeah,
take it.
I was on the college track. That's why I took
So
off.
was I, but I said, oh, I'm avoiding as much
but,
of that math crap as I can because math is
I
hard.
didn't. Math is my thing. That's
Ah,
my
That's your bag?
jam.
Oh, okay.
But I photocopied
Math is
it.
my
and I
jam. You need a
inflated it.
T-shirt that says that. Math is my jam.
Oh well, I stole that from somebody. That's what it.
Yeah.
There is one that says
Oh,
that.
okay.
And I put that up on the board because anybody who's ever taken physics, the student will say to the professor, "Why would you do that?" Because the professor says, "So let's just add a negative over on this side to balance it out." Why? Why would you do that? There's no logical reason why you would do that. That's why you can't. Physics for me, along with calc, was the teacher presents it. Wow, it makes sense. Then I get out of the room. I'm like, what the hell did he just say?
Yeah, it's complicated. It's a different way of thinking. I didn't have to take that.
Well, I have a tautology for you. Physics sucks, and physics is life. Therefore, life sucks.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so the thing that took my brain away in college, I had one class to take, and I waited till the end, statistics. I had to take
I, as a
statistics.
statistics natural, that's the thing that I killed it
Well,
on stats.
Okay, I could do, if you gave me the problem, I could figure it out myself without understanding the theorems or whatever you call them in statistics. I could do it. I could figure it out, but I couldn't remember or do those stupid things. So what happened is they gave us the opportunity to have one page of notes So what I did was I took one page and I took the smallest print I could do on my computer.
That you could still read.
And I brought a magnifying glass. They did not say I couldn't have a magnifying glass.
3-point font.
So I
Two.
I made a whole sheet, both with all of the they're not theorems. What are they called? The
Tests.
Formulas.
formulas. That's what I'm looking for.
Like the student's key test
the
and,
formulas.
yeah.
So I put all the formulas down, and the only way that I passed is because I did that, and I got like a C+ on the exam, and it was graded on a curve. So what that meant was there were people in the class that knew less than me, and I knew nothing. So figure that one out statistically.
Well, it's graded on the curve. It's applying the bell curve to it, so that's why that's statistical deviations. And,
Well, I know, but there's people that got a lower mark than I did, and I knew nothing. So how could they get a lower mark than me?
Because you got that doesn't matter. It's not what you know; it's what you can prove. Literally, in this case,
With Sky Daddy, all things are possible.
Well,
nobody even brought that up.
And I remember after that exam, I was so pent up that I was playing on my car radio.
Under Pressure by Queen and
No, I
David
remember
Bowie.
it was
You mean Ice Ice Baby?
I need some silence just for a second so I can remember
luck.
what this is. So it's, by Led Zeppelin.
Kashmir?
Kashmir. Kashmir came on the radio, and I blasted it, and I was pounding on my steering wheel, and I was just so relieved that it was over, but I didn't even know because if I didn't pass it, I couldn't graduate, and that was the last class I needed.
So is that a good plan?
It wasn't, but I was scared.
Well,
Did
you have an advisor or a mentor?
I did. I was an archaeology student, so my advisor was I guess you'd call it's not really soft science, but it's almost like soft science.
What, the professor was as old as the stuff he studied?
No, but he was an archaeologist, and archaeologists are egotistical maniacs. They think that they're making the Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, he didn't give me a lot of practical advice. He just tried to fix me up with a professor down in Alabama. It's a long story. Anyway, I got through it, but we got off on a tangent. So anyway, what's on your list? We have a list. I know we have a list.
Okay. Today's the last day of the Cannes Film Festival.
Okay.
Do you know what happens at the Cannes Film Festival?
Rich people watch movies.
Well, movie producers and rich people and some actors, they watch the films and they vote on them, or ones that are screened. I never understood the wording of it, screened out of competition. I thought that meant they were screened and said, this sucks, it's out. No, it's just they're showing they're not part of the competition. Like bringing your dog to the dog show, but it's not in all the it's not.
Yeah.
But and they have the Golden Palm, Palme d'Or. Yeah, and don't they have the Bear too, or is that's in Germany?
That's Berlin.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all I know.
So what happens is you make a movie, and then if you can afford it, you pay the entry fee to Cannes, which doesn't mean you'll get in.
Oh, right. Just like
It never
any,
does.
It
just
means
like
that
any
they'll
film
decide
festival.
if it's worthy of being allowed into
Right.
the
Wow.
festival.
Yeah.
And then if it gets let in, you can go either out of competition or pay a fee to be in the competition.
So even if they accept it, you have to pay a fee to be in the competition.
Right, right.
I didn't
if
know
you
that.
See, the fee is to be screened,
Yeah.
but then if you want to be in the competition,
There's
you got
another
to pay a
fee.
fee because they got to pay the judges.
Oh.
See?
Well, Greg and I, well, actually I, entered some of the, I don't remember which films, but I entered some in small film festivals, and you have to pay a fee to all of them
Yeah.
in order to have them look at your movie and then send you a letter saying, forget it. But
Good way to go broke.
and it's the same thing. I mean, there's
So I like
there's some
music
of
better.
that, but there's some of that in poetry too. They have these competitions, and you have to send in a fee. With
Yeah,
your,
yeah.
With
Of
your
all
poems.
those artistic fields I was involved in, I would have to say music is the best because music is like the least like that. You can get exposure for music without having to pay as much as you
Well,
do
you
for
can get
film.
you can get exposure with poetry. You can go online and you can read your poems to.
Like Jim Prey
but
and
what's-
Josh Smith.
But what's the difference between music and a film? Film will change your viewing if you're looking at a screen here or up there, whereas your equivalent in music is you just turn the volume up. And that's easier to turn the volume up than it is to put a movie on the screen, because that's what I'm wondering about. Do the judges view it on a screen, or do they look at it on a monitor before they take it into competition?
Oh, right.
I don't know.
I did. I monitored. I screened films for the Buffalo Film Festival one year.
Did you watch it on your computer?
They asked me, but I watched it on my computer. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, and our friend Renee,
Your VIC 20.
who was mean to Jason,
She wasn't. She was
she
dismissive.
is
It wasn't
on the
mean.
she's on the jury of Sundance Film Festival.
Oh, I know. I know. She's really she's a mover and a shaker. That girl.
But you know, I was reading today on TV tropes about people. What got me there was I what was the show? It was that metal show that used to be on VH1, and Eddie Trunk, who talked about the Rock and Roll Hall of Shame.
Oh.
Because he said that the Grammys ignore metal. That's because they're ignorant. But the Rock and Roll Hall of Shame ignores metal because that's just straight up snobbery. Straight up snobbery. And that brought me back to TV tropes. And I was thinking about the ones that it can be examples of would I be the smart guy or the gentleman scholar? Or the human encyclopedia? Those were all three different tropes that were similar but not the same. And that's why...
as judges, you're talking
No,
about?
what I'm saying is, the thing about the gentleman or the lady scholar is you don't tell people how good you are, or you don't lord it over people that you're a judge on the Sundance panel, or you don't treat people as second-class citizens, that you treat everybody equally. Because it was like that line from Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser and Alicia Silverstone, when Dave Foley says, he's a gentleman that I thought that was somebody who had horses and played polo. And he said, no, it's somebody who always makes sure that everybody around them is comfortable. What if I had the ego like those people and I talked to you like you were an undergrad, and then I changed tone. I talked to Nessa.
It happens to me all the time as a woman.
But
Yeah.
but what if I did it egregiously? Or I said your opinion.
I would probably do something snarky in return. I
Because,
mean, I'm human.
Well, what I remember.
Mouth off, huh?
I
Yeah.
remember from college, there was he was actually an adjunct because he never got his PhD. But one of the English professors said after a student exposited actually a pretty good point, he said, "That's very well spoken. It's wrong, but it was well spoken."
Yeah, I have a little story to tell. My daughter was in a class at EC. She went to ECC first before.
Easy Credit College,
She
Erie Country Club.
She needed to have. She needed some guidance in the first couple years.
Did you know that all community colleges in New York are part of the SUNY system?
Yeah.
All of them are part.
They weren't back when she was in school. But the thing is, she was taking a class. I don't remember which class it was, and the professor was really shitty to her. He treated her. My daughter. I showed you a picture.
Yeah.
She's beautiful, and so he figured she's beautiful and she's blonde.
So she has nothing else to contribute.
Therefore, she must be stupid.
Yeah.
So he treated her that way in the class, and she said, "Mom, I want to drop this class. I can't stand this guy. He's an asshole." And I said, "Okay, you can drop the class, but the only thing I want you to do if you drop the class is I want you to tell him why you're dropping the class." And she couldn't do it. So she stayed in the class, and she finished it. And at the end of the class, he apologized to her. He said, because she got a really good grade, and she did her assignments well. And he said, I had this idea. He said, and I don't know. He said, but I apologize to you for, and he knew what he was doing. He knew he was saying, hi, Celeste.
Hey!
Hi. Yeah. So I mean, there's something. You can fight it quietly, but you can also fight it
He
loudly.
was judging book by cover.
But
Yes,
that's
exactly.
like the win over your detractors. I got a story for you. The counter to that. It was either 78 or 79 because it was in the first class that at my med school. So it was new in 76, and so there's an old saw about USMLE, U.S. Medical Licensing Exam, step 1, 2, 3. Step 1, 2 weeks. Step 2, 2 days. Step 3, a number 2 pencil. That's how much prep you have to put into it. Well, this was written, and the guy's name was Jeff. I don't remember his last name, but I don't know why I remember his name was Jeff. He got 792 out of 800. Right, it was the best score out of any taker anywhere, and he's from this foreign school. Do you know what they said? He had to have cheated.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
That's
the
another
best, yeah.
because they have a expectation of what people are capable of doing, and we've talked about this too. That's why for years I didn't tell people how old I was, because people had expectations of how I was supposed to act based on how old I was, and I was not about to kowtow to that kind of mentality.
So, Celeste, have you ever been talked down to just because you were a woman?
Oh.
Can we take that as a yes?
That is routine.
It is routine. Yeah.
It's routine. And it's routine with an asterisk if you're an African American woman.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember working for the Buffalo Philharmonic, and I was asked to go over to the Buffalo News for a meeting, joining some other people. And when I got there, I told the receptionist, I was there for a meeting, and she told me to sit down. And 2 other people who I did not know, but I know were going to be in the meeting, walked by me. She acknowledged them and let them in. And one of the guys turned to me and said, "Are you picking up a package?"
Oh, no.
And I said, "No, I'm here with the Buffalo Philharmonic Marketing Committee." And then there was like a 3-second freeze. And then it was like, "Oh, come in. What's your name?" They hadn't asked my name. The receptionist hadn't said anything to them. But I mean, that's just an example of how far back that goes.
Well,
because that was
in Freakonomics, they talked about that. They said a Rashad by any other name. Does your name affect what you do? And Aaron Rashawn Thomas is the guy who started the remake of SWAT. And he had to think about that. Aaron Thomas sounds almost Jewish, but he put his middle name in there knowing that could be the kiss of death, because assumptions are made by your name.
Yes.
If you're Tiffany, you're discounted. If you're, they even mentioned in the story in Freakonomics about there was a father in New York City that his oldest son he named Winner, and the last child he named Loser. There was like 8 kids, but the oldest was Winner. The one that was the last child, Loser, went by Lou. He became a police officer, and he became a lieutenant in the NYPD. While his older brother, Winner, spent more of his life in jail than out of it. Winner was the one who was the loser, and Loser was the one who was the winner. So what's in a name,
True story?
That's a true story.
Do you think it had something to do with the name, or do
I knew
you think
somebody
it
who was a
just their
teacher.
nature?
You gotta check this out. Just a side tangent because it's amusing. I had a person who had 2 kids, and their mother was a teenage mother, and she thought it would be fun to name her twins Lamangelo and Orangelo.
That is an urban legend.
No, that's real.
Well,
she actually verified it. She showed me the records.
that well, that's like the not. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm not saying anything.
Spelled like orange
Vanessa
jello.
and I were having a conversation a couple of months ago about a song called "The Curse of the Name," and the lyrics are, "When I was born, they hung that name around my neck like a big red weight.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I became the thing I love to hate."
Millstone.
Yeah.
Because there was a guy when there was all sorts of legacies when I was in college in Virginia at a military school. Our class president was the 5th, and our vice president and historian were both the 3rd. There was a guy a year ahead of me. This was an interesting one. He's from Toms River, New Jersey. Joseph Fenelon Rio the 6th. He had an identical twin brother who's just Luke. So there's Joseph F. Rio the 6th and Luke Rio. I mean, how about where's the equity in that? And So that's why if you get the name like Theodore Roosevelt, now they're on to the 6th. Theodore Roosevelt the 5th, he's all business. He eschewed. I love that word.
Speaking of which, where's James? He's the 7th.
Isn't it eschewed?
Yeah.
Yes, he's the 7th.
It depends on your. I've always
Yes,
heard
the
eschewed.
HEW, yeah.
Yeah, eschewed.
Issue.
Well, that was in that song "I Hate You" from Star Trek 4, because the guy who plays the punk, it's where they're in the bus, and the song is playing, and somebody says, "Can you turn that down?" And he turns it up louder, and then Spock does the nerve punch on him, and he passes out. That song was created by that guy playing the punk, who was one of the art directors on the movie, so he really glammed it up. But there's in the song, there's "I hate you." And I berate you, I eschew you, and I say screw you. And
Nice.
I like that.
Beautiful lyrics.
Well, what was funny was you could only get it. You could
Poetry.
You could only get it out of the movie, but then in 2013 he really redid the song, and it was full, and you could download it as an MP3 off his website. But yeah, I eschew you, and
Yeah.
I say
Oh, it's
screw
like
you.
it's like the Chips episode with the punk band Pain. You remember the Chips episode where they had the fake punk band?
That one I don't remember,
Oh, it's
because I remember
phenomenal.
when what's her name was saying
Quincy?
Gloria, Brannigan, Laura Brannigan, the one who died of the
Yeah.
bleed. I remember her singing Gloria on Chips.
Really? I thought Chips would have been done by then.
No, that was around
What year?
Chips
Wasn't
ran,
Brannigan was like 1982?
yeah, and Chips
I
ran
don't-
from
It was
still
78
then?
to 83.
I don't
Okay.
have a lot of television, that kind of television knowledge.
In the original
I don't
Chips,
either.
they
Yeah.
drew their guns exactly 0 times.
Well, I guess that's admirable.
That's real.
Yeah, well, I suppose it
I got a
is.
story about that. There's a guy who I worked with on the ambulance who, when he said enough of this paramedic biz, his first cop job was with a suburban D.C. department. You know, it was local. His first radio call 911 on his first day was at gunpoint. He didn't
Wow.
discharge his weapon, but the first call he ever had was at gunpoint.
Oh, wow.
Most guys will go their entire career
Yeah.
without drawing their
Wow.
service weapon.
Luck.
Well,
There's luck.
All right, so I want to kind of try to rein this in. It's
Good
like
luck.
It's like herding cats.
It's exploding chaos of tribute to Velvet Al.
I'm herding cats here. So now,
What kind of cats
do-
in particular?
what do you want? You want to be a what kind of cat has
Can I be a Maine Coon?
the fluffy? Oh, maybe
Oh,
you
yeah,
could
a
be
Taylor Swift cat.
Yeah.
What the hell are those called?
Those
Those
fluffy
fluffy
cats.
ones,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know. So, Richard, do you have anything on your list where we can kind of make this a conversation where it's like,
Well, I could finish the story about Khan.
oh, excellent. Then let's do that. Thank you.
Okay, so you get up enough money and then you enter the competition.
Yeah.
Now, that's part one. Part two is once you enter the competition, all these movie studios from all over the world, they want to see your film because they want to strike a deal with you. Mm-hmm. And they want to say, we like it. We'll put up the money to get it distributed.
Right.
All right? Usually it's the movie studio who will say, this is good. Let's put it in the competition.
Oh, and they'll pay for it.
Yeah.
Oh, because they want you to win that award, so
Because
that
then
when they're
the-
distributing,
the audience
Yeah.
goes from this to this.
right,
You know what
right,
I mean?
get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one movie studio is there and they're looking at all the things. Now, what do you think of this summary of a story?
Okay.
A former political prisoner kidnaps a man he believes to have been his torturer,
Ah.
and he abducts him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he debates with the other dissidents who helped him abduct the torturer whether to kill him or forgive him.
Why not
That's a good
both?
storyline.
that could either
yeah.
be really good or really
Why
bad.
not both?
You need, we were talking about that. A story, the story idea is great.
It
It's
is.
either it can either be made into something incredible with the dialogue, or it can be made into something trite and almost like an action film if you don't have the right dialogue. So dialogue drives a movie like that with a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah.
it's just a movie about, Batman shows up someplace. I mean,
Yeah.
that's different. You don't need the people know what to expect. But a
What do
story
you
like
expect with
that,
Batman?
It's a thought-provoking.
yeah,
Yeah.
It
it
could be
is.
thought-provoking.
It could be thought. So what was the?
So the company who said to him, "Okay, we'll make the movie," is a movie company called Neon. I don't know if you've ever seen it at the beginning of a movie.
I've seen the awful car from the 90s, Dodge Neon.
No, that's not
No,
what he's talking about.
that doesn't ring a bell. So
Yeah.
are they newer?
Yeah.
So Neon buys it, and they say we're going to put this in the competition.
Uh-huh.
They said it's got a lot going for it. They said, number one, you are from Iran. Number two, you were given a choice: either leave the country or you're going to get arrested.
Mm-hmm.
So it ties into your personal story, and they gave me
Yeah.
all these other reasons. 2 hours ago, that movie won the Golden Palm Award.
Wow.
Nice, nice.
And interestingly, every year there's a Golden Palm.
Yeah.
For the past 6 years, Neon's film has won the award.
Really?
Oh, you know what?
How's
remi-
that for having a eye?
That
for
reminds
what-
Yes,
for what it's worth. I mean, Harvey Weinstein. That was he might be a big asshole, but he had really good taste in movies.
He could also get you tickets.
He could pick out a movie that was going to be successful. And I mean, we haven't had one of those people who could do that since, he's been in jail. So maybe this Neon company has got a similar person
Yep.
who's just got that instinct.
Right.
Just like the Motown, when the people from Motown would hear something, they'd hear a sound or they'd hear somebody and they had an instinct. It's different. It's a special. It's a not a. I hate to call it a gift.
It's like an instinct.
It's just something where you have maybe enough knowledge of the whole thing
Yeah.
to be able to pick out the good stuff.
Right, right.
Like if you're a diamond guy in New York and you can look at a bunch of diamonds in a tray and you can pick out the one that's perfect because you have the eye for it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's good. So how many years was it? 6, you said?
Yeah, for the past 6 years, they've won the Golden Palm with their submission.
So have any
Wow.
of these movies something that I might have heard of? Have any of them been commercially successful?
Well, you have a style where you will basically watch anything, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, you will?
this is more for discerning viewers.
Santa
Well, but if you
Monica
watch
videos.
anything, isn't there a chance that you may have seen it?
Correct.
Just by
that's why-
accident?
No, that's what the thing. I don't recognize that name seeing it at the beginning
Yeah.
because I always look at them. You
Yeah.
know?
Do you have a list of those movies from the last 6 years? I'd be curious.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you want to see if you recognize any of them?
I'd be curious, sure.
Because I can tell you 2 movies I've never seen because the cable doesn't show them. The Artist, that was the black and white one, and
Yeah.
the silent one, and Moonlight, which was in that screw up
Oh,
with
yeah.
La La Land.
Yeah.
They don't because they were commercial failures, and so And-
we still go to the movies. We don't go a lot, but I love
Well,
going to the
I
movies.
don't
Pretty
like
sure
going-
Moonlight was nominated for some kinds of
It
honors.
was, yeah.
well, it won the best picture.
I don't like going to the
I would
movies.
say so. I don't know
since-
if you want to call it a failure or not.
No, I'm talking about commercially.
Talk
I'm
over
talking
me.
about commercial.
Oh,
Yeah, commercially
okay.
because
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
not everything that wins the award is
No.
I have
And
a
some
s-
of the films that have won, they go from for your consideration to the Oscars. And you might have seen them in the theater, and you might not because the time lapse.
Well, we look for-
close
we
and
look
the
for
marketing is
yeah.
not that hot.
we look for intelligent movies when we're going to the movies.
I have a side point. How come I don't like going to the movies since it's digital projection? I want to see a film projection, and that doesn't exist anymore.
if you go to the screening room, it does. They
still do film,
they
like they have a
do-
16 millimeter projector.
but why? Why?
No, I don't think so.
movie
yeah.
projector, with the
Yeah.
Yeah.
big film reels.
And you hear the bells, when they
Yeah.
have to change the reel.
Yeah, that's fun.
Why?
That's going to the movies. That's the experience.
Nostalgia.
You may as well watch it on a computer screen at home. You're watching a big computer screen in a theater with a
Yeah.
bunch of creeps that you don't want to be around. Why not just watch it at home?
I
get
have
a,
news
get
for
a big
you.
screen at
There's
home and
no
watch
one
it.
in the movie theaters.
Oh, good.
There have been times when Greg
You're right,
and I
there
have
is no
gone
one.
there, and there'd be 4 other people in
You know
the
what's
movie
hilarious?
theater.
When I went to see the Taylor Swift concert movie at 1 in the morning at the Prince Kuhio Plaza in
Yeah.
Hawaii, and like there were like maybe 3 other people
Yeah,
there. And it was like the first
all.
weekend.
That's all it is. When we go to the movies, usually on Tuesday because it's half price day. The
$1.50.
no, it's not $1.50.
I missed the $1.50.
And if you
theater.
go before 4 o'clock or by 4 o'clock, it's even
get a-
cheaper. That's
right.
what I kind of
And
do.
always get
I go
get the senior discount.
Tuesdays is the one that we.
Always
Put on
ask
your
for the
gray
senior
wig.
discount. No, they will never proof you. So just ask for the
But
senior
I know,
discount.
but it's even cheaper if you get it half price. So if I
Ooh,
go
a
in
senior
there
discount half price, both.
and I get a senior discount, it's like maybe $1 off the price of the ticket. But if you go and it's a $12 ticket, you get it for $6. That's a discount.
Yeah.
Well, bring your AARP and your AAA card because both of those.
No,
will,
they don't give me a senior discount when they have this cheap movie day.
Well,
Oh, is that
which theater?
excluded? It might be.
At the Regal.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I can get a senior discount if it's regular price movies, but I can't.
well, so can I, and I'm.
Yeah, but well, I don't have to lie. Okay, so Richard, did you find the movies?
Yes.
Okay.
So this year, I didn't tell you the name of the movie yet. It's A Simple Accident.
Okay.
Last year was Honora.
Oh,
Yeah, I
right.
haven't
That
seen
one,
that.
yeah.
Yes, that was, yeah.
I haven't seen that. Have you,
Oh.
Celeste?
No,
Oh,
just
okay.
trailers. But I know the name, I know the
Yeah.
actors. I saw all the interviews, and I didn't.
And then the year before that was Anatomy of a Fall.
No, didn't see it.
I think we saw that, but I don't remember it because
The husband either falls or is pushed out of a window, and then the detective is questioning the wife.
yeah, I think we saw it. I've got a terrible memory, unfortunately, but I think we did see that.
Let's see here. The year before that, 2022, was Triangle of Sadness.
I don't remember.
Never even
that
heard of
one.
that.
Great. The Triangle of Sadness. That's where the Gallery Mundane is located.
And then the year before that was Titane.
Yeah,
That
didn't see
doesn't.
that.
That at all.
That doesn't ring a bell.
And I know you saw the one the year before that, which was Parasite.
Oh, I love Parasite. Parasite was great. That's why I was so disappointed with Everything Everywhere All at Once, or whatever the heck the name of that was. That was too chaotic. I couldn't. I couldn't.
My wife felt the same way, but also because she has hyperacusis, and she's a functioning tetrachromat.
Ooh,
So
I'm a tetrachromat.
I say that's red, and she will give you the subset of red. What it is. She sees colors like a bird.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
a bee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why for her, she was almost to the point she couldn't watch it because it was so
induced
frenetic.
seizures.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love being able
Yeah.
to see all those colors. It's
yeah.
such fun.
Yeah, I don't. I don't
Yeah.
know if I see colors differently than other
you
people.
should take the
The same
tests.
way when I interviewed you and I asked you where you heard instruments and you didn't know what the hell I was talking about because I didn't know that I had a synesthesia. Everybody I interviewed that for that paper was like, "What? Where do I hear the piccolo in my ears?"
Oh,
But-
so I have a music question. Any of y'all could answer that.
I can, probably.
I don't know if you can, but I hope you can.
Also,
So
it's classical.
I see these orchestral people that their flutes are made of silver and gold and platinum. Do those metals impart a different sound?
Different
Because
tone?
Yes.
Of course they do, yes.
but I
Yes.
wouldn't say, of course they do. I would think they'd be all the same because
no.
they put them on the.
No, the metal's going to have different resonance.
but all instruments, even violins, have different
yeah, based on the wood and the
different,
aging. Yeah.
very subtle, but you know,
But a platinum flute weighs about 5 pounds. It's heavy. You know what I mean? Whereas the violin.
so you're going
is
to get
heavy.
a lot of heavy breathing then too.
That's what I mean. That what are you trading off? But also because seeing a gold flute stands out. But when you see one that is white, if it's platinum versus being stainless steel,
Yeah,
that's all I was wondering.
I don't know, but
No.
I do know that in many cases, what the instrument's made out of, and even just from instrument to instrument, even if they're made out of the same thing, they'll have a different timbre.
Oh,
or-
yeah.
Depends on
yeah.
how they make. I learned this from my years working at the Philharmonic,
Uh-huh.
and the musicians are very, very touchy about that. And that's why often they have multiple instruments for different reasons. So it can be the metal, it could be the way it was made and how it was made. Certainly wood, if wood is applicable, mixed wood, solid wood, same kind of wood. It can also be period. So, the instruments as they were made in 1800 is going to have a completely different sound than instruments made, 50, 100 years later.
Yeah.
And that's why some instruments are so coveted and others not so much.
Celeste, did anybody have a Strad when you were at the Philharmonic? Anybody in Buffalo have a Strad violin or viola? A Stradivarius?
The orchestra, no. The person who may have, and I don't know, would have been the concertmaster,
Okay.
late concertmaster at the time, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Because what I found out is those are investment vehicles.
Yes, they
Yes.
are. So are old guitars.
Yes.
Yeah.
But people will get lent them by the trust that owns it to use it in concert. But
Yeah.
Yeah. So hello, I want to say hi to Brian. Hi, Brian. Brian's out there. Charles Haupt. Is
Yeah.
that is
HAUPT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the who you're talking
And then
about.
there's other, the guest violinists, and cellist that would, may have one, may have more than one.
You know what I miss about the Philharmonic? I remember when I was young, and we used to be able to go the last minute and get rush tickets.
Oh.
Rush
Yes.
tickets were like $7 or something, and it
Yeah.
was crazy cheap. And because the concert hall was rarely filled, and now there's no such thing anymore, and that's
They
kind
don't
of
do that anymore?
no, they don't do that anymore. And but my friend has arts access pass that she can
Yeah.
get 2 tickets for any performance that's not the special ones where they have like special guests and stuff like that. So that's nice because we can go and see that stuff. We went to see a play at the Kavanoki Theater, and it was great. We had like pretty good seats, and we got to go. It was free. It was great. I don't know how much of that stuff's going to be around for much longer, but I miss the rush tickets. I mean, why not sell out the seats?
right, because that was always, that was
Incentive.
and it was one of the hallmarks of college. Getting rush tickets is one of your benefits for getting your studying ass worked off you to do something fun and cheap that you could afford.
Yeah.
That otherwise you wouldn't have any access to.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a shame that we don't have more access to the arts. It's-
Artsy, not fartsy.
Celeste, when you were there rush tickets?
There were rush tickets, but there was also a thing called ADS vouchers at the time. And that was enabling people to come at dramatic discounts
Yeah.
to concerts. And there was also sort of a promotional thing through the audience development department that would identify community groups and certain groups, and they would be allotted certain tickets, to come complimentary actually
Yeah.
for some of the groups. But, they changed things up. They started having concerts on the lawn. And I don't think the hall is as empty as it used to be because the
No,
programming
it's not.
changed.
Yeah.
And the audience, because the whole thing was geared about trying to get, at that time, younger audience members. And so they sort of succeeded with having a different kind of pops concert, having some jazz and popular concerts, certainly the holiday concerts. Some, now you have to get your ticket well in advance or you won't make it. They had the Beer and Jeans series.
Yeah.
A lot of different things that have made it feel more accessible.
Yeah.
More lowbrow.
Yeah, I like the classical
Popular,
music. I like the classical music
Vulgar.
shows, and
In the truest sense.
I'm not
Right.
I'm not big on pops. I mean, I guess if I got a free ticket, I would
Define
go.
pops.
Like playing the Star Wars stuff.
Well,
Right.
you got to, if you've ever seen the Imperial March being played, that's a job. That's working for
Well,
everybody
it could be, but it's not something that moves
It's
me.
a good song.
But what I'm saying is watching it performed versus
Yeah.
just listening.
Yeah, that's true. Any kind of live performance over recorded is, I like I said, I'm looking forward to the day when I can do anything in virtual reality. You know, like if I want to go to, if I don't get to go to Greece, I can go to Greece.
Well, it was like, what was the Mozart piece that he wrote? Because for the singer, or she would have to move her head, so he did it so she was bobbing like a chicken. Does that ring a bell for anybody?
No, but I can sing opera like a chicken.
No.
Please do. I
She
like
was doing
chickens.
this like she was pecking for corn because that's the way he did it to humiliate her.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I never heard
I
of that.
like that.
Yeah. You like humiliation?
Pecking like a chicken? No, I like chickens.
Yeah. Oh,
you
Chickens are
like
one of my
chickens.
favorite things. They
No,
have
I don't know
there's
that.
chickens all
And
over Hawaii.
And it never made it to Klein hands. As far as I know.
Whatever it was, it never made it to client.
You know, you go to any
No.
fast food restaurant in Hawaii and you go through the drive-thru and there's always chickens in the drive-thru hanging out with you while you're
Is
waiting
that
for
what
your
you
food.
do, like a lobster, like in the
Feral
restaurant?
chickens.
You pick up a
No.
chicken and you hand it to the cook.
No, there was a rooster that would walk by that every
No, I know.
Friday morning. Well,
I'm
there'd be a
kidding.
cat sitting there downtown Honolulu. A cat sitting there. The rooster would walk by at 6 a.m. and they would just kind of look at each other and go about their day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never
Oh.
seen a chicken in a drive-through.
And McDonald's
You're
in
missing
Hawaii,
out.
get a haupia pie or a taro pie. It's
yeah.
worth it.
Oh,
haupia
yeah.
is like coconut pudding. Oh my goodness. You know, you remember when you were a kid that you'd get the McDonald's pie, it would burn your fingers and your tongue or the cherry because it was so hot.
Yeah.
It's like that, but it's haupia and it's worth it.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're more like the baked pies. They're not really in the hot egg roll anymore. They're less hot than they used to be.
But haupia
yeah,
is
they're
where it's
good,
at.
yeah.
You'll never go wrong with haupia.
I'll have to remember that if I make it. If I make it, can I get it in virtual reality?
Just go to Hawaii.
I was telling Celeste.
You won't
I was
regret it.
telling Richard that I started off with the AI that I put on my phone. I started out asking simple questions. So I asked it who I was first, and then I asked it.
Lord.
I
Like an
asked
existential
who-
question?
I
Yeah,
asked it who Greg was, and they gave me a synopsis, and I asked who Richard was, and you know it's pretty interesting to see what's out there and how AI combines it to I remember the first time not many years ago, but when you first could ask these kind of questions to the computer, and they told me I was dead. They gave me all these things about myself, and then they said, and you know what I liked about mine? It didn't say anything about Harvey Weinstein. I was so
wow.
excited because that was the one thing I wanted to wipe away.
Why?
Because I don't want to be known as a victim. I want to be known for what I do.
Oh.
I don't
But
want
you did something by doing whatever you did with that.
Well, I came forward as a person who could prove that this is happening for many years. And
And I'm going to agree with you because, for back in those days, I worked with Harvey Weinstein and Harvey and Corky Production.
What I
Yeah.
say, he can get you tickets.
And I remember that we were supposed to have a meeting. I had a business partner at that time. She's now living and working in Atlanta.
Hotlanta.
But we ended up having a very scary ride before we got to where we were supposed to go and to a meeting. And it was like, why are we out here in the country? And so I think Harris and we were ready to duke it out if necessary, because for a minute it felt
wrong.
like an abduction.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a friend who didn't want to come forward, but she had an incident with him that happened back in the 70s. She worked for a answering service, and she did the billing, and he said he had a check for her. And so he said, come to my apartment, because he was living in one of those apartments on Lawson Road. He says, come to my apartment, and I'll give you not only will I give you the check, he said, I'll give you free tickets and backstage passes for whatever band it was.
Ted Nugent.
And
Rush.
and so she
Iron
very she said, oh wow, that's great. So she went to his apartment and she knocked on the door and she heard him say, come in, the door is unlocked. So she did, and he was in the bathtub.
How delightful.
Yeah.
So
Should throw a toaster in it.
So she said
Yeah.
that the tickets were on the table. She just grabbed them and she left. And that was it. So, but she said, she couldn't handle the attention or talking about it, and I didn't mind. I've been telling the story for years as kind of a funny story because I wasn't really. I wasn't affected by it. It wasn't the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Like some women, they were, and that was their career, and their careers were on the line. For me, it was just some kind of scurvy fat guy who showed up naked when I was supposed to pick up my
during that
checks.
time period, which is sort of interesting, is that men in that group, and I guess I'll say that group because it included some higher level elected officials, anybody who would consider themselves like mover shaker kind of guy.
Yeah.
They were just obnoxious
Yeah.
and self-inflated, and you name it, they thought they had it all in the bag.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have sex with me?
Right.
Why wouldn't you?
And I want to say, and some of these, and I have to, can't say, but
yeah.
Sometimes, you go to these parties and, things where you're supposed to be navigating your business or whatever, and they all drink too much.
Yeah.
And then when you drink too much, they get even more obnoxious than they are when they're sober. It just, it turns into
A free for all.
Like the Ted Nugent album, Free for All.
Came
Bring him
in
up
and
again.
they're all just really.
Yeah, I know. I know. And that's the thing. You developed a repertoire for dealing with it. You developed some smart answers for people that, instead of being, telling, when you didn't go in, who are you going to tell? They didn't care. Nobody cared. The men were all in charge. So if you went to the men and told them, they would,
They'd laugh.
I'll have to see about this, and I'll have to see what happened. Blah blah blah. We'll have a conference. Blah blah blah. So you developed your own style for just shutting them up or shutting them down, and and you became, you developed a tough skin because of that. Now it does seem like, of course, women do have recourse now, but.
Back then, they really didn't, because you think about people like, Clarence Thomas. Would he have been judged today based on?
God.
He would have probably
during
not.
During the Trump administration, he might.
Speaking of Trump, when are they gonna release the Epstein list? He's probably number one on it.
It's just really so. It's heartening to know that, there are women still who hide, but there are still women who can, bite the bullet and say they're going to come forward. Because here's the thing, when you respond in a way to protect yourself, it's an ultimatum you're giving yourself, and you have to be prepared to take whatever answer it is.
Right. And
like if you really feel your career is on the line.
Yes, exactly.
Then you have to say, you know what, I guess I might lose out on this, but I cannot go another step further.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess in my situation, I didn't have a career path that was being blocked. I had a job, and I could get another job if I needed to.
Which is great. Yeah.
And so it was never that they were never stopping me from doing something I really wanted to do.
No. And then, interestingly enough, the women who came through with the movement first, just this past year with many of the 5 years, I should say, with many of the celebrities coming forward. Some of them did well after that, and some of them did not, even though, they succumbed, to the situation out of, any level of fear. It didn't necessarily pay off.
I'm on that thread. Thread with all of those women from Hollywood that
really?
Because I was part
of the testimony, or
I wanted to give testimony in New York, but there was this whole thread, and there were these famous people on this thread, and so every once in a while I'll see another person added to the thread, and they'll say, I am, coming forward now, but this happened then, and she'll tell the whole story, or there'll be somebody writing a book, or somebody doing a film, and they'll keep in contact, but as far as that. And I've got a couple numbers in my phone, like I've got the reporter from the Hollywood Reporter, and and from some other British thing, but that is that seems to have not on the internet. If I put my name on the internet, it still comes up, but it's
Well, God only knows what's happening, because I think I read somewhere, and I didn't read the whole thing because I was so appalled. But they're trying to tamper. The GOP is now trying to tamper with the laws of consent.
Of course they are.
wow. Where did you hear that?
It came up on like either the New York Times or I have to Google that, because I looked at it and I thought, this is the most ridiculous thing. The moment you think they can't get lower, they find a way to go lower.
They
Well,
always do.
Go
'Cause
back
that
and
would-
look at that.
That would exonerate all these people.
Yeah.
Side note.
And or stopping cases going forward or whatever. And so I don't want to say too much till I go back and look at it. But all I saw was the headline and then a part of it, and I just stopped.
Yeah, I know.
Because I
know.
said,
There's just some things.
One source you can't trust at all anymore is Newsweek. The past 3 weeks, they have nothing but pro-Trump fluff stories. This week they had a story that said Trump is becoming very popular among Democrats, which I doubt. And then they had one before that that said Trump's numbers with millennials are going through the sky. And then the week before that they had another thing like Trump's issues on sex, or his stance on sexual issues and gender issues are wildly popular. Like 89% of the country love that, whereas they hate everything else. And like these are all in Newsweek, and they're all fluff stories, and I don't believe any of
Well,
them.
I hear Trump is
Oh,
very
no,
big
you
in the
can't.
Congo.
Big in Chicago?
The Congo.
Oh, the Congo.
well,
Why?
somebody put on Facebook the
He doesn't know where it
10
is.
10 steps to fascism, and how the propaganda begins. And it starts with first
Yeah.
step, kind of like what you were saying is, find a lie, tell it often.
Tell it over and over, like reposting the same meme over and over on Facebook.
Yeah.
You can't trust any of the mainstream media now. Even the ones Trump says are against him are actually for him. They let him walk right into office. They normalized everything about this. Nobody opposed him.
Well,
all the
what,
mainstream
they're
media
all-
was on
they're
his
all
side.
Well, first of all, they're all too much conjoined together.
Yeah, they're all
so
corporate.
you have that, and now you have lawsuits. Which the one bright light in that is the CBS lawsuit. That episode with Kamala Harris actually took the Emmy. So there's a bit of vindication in that, where they had to make that however many.
Oh, and now he's coming after Springsteen because he said he played live in support of Kamala Harris. And
Well,
now
no,
wants to-
he was in Germany or something.
Yeah,
and
and
Yeah, I know. He was in
and-
England and he just shot his trap off. But now Trump wants to get Springsteen not only for that, but because he was playing shows back when Kamala was running against Trump in favor
anybody
of
who's
Kamala.
anything. Listen, he's after Beyonce.
Oh, he's after Taylor Swift.
Do you have something else to do? You're president. Is that all you do?
He's after pop stars.
Is troll celebrities?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's what he
really?
is. He's a celebrity from his TV show.
Yeah. Well,
You know what? Who remembers really him on the show? What you remember are the characters. I mean, who was a standout on some of that stuff that he did? That
His
Crazy
diaper
Girl.
was when he
Omarosa.
shit himself.
and
Yeah, and I can't think of
UC and
yeah.
names like that.
Carolyn and
I never
George.
watched any of that stuff, so I don't have any
I
recollection.
never watched it, but you found out
did.
who the people were
Yeah.
post, I guess, however that was, because they
Yeah. I just
some laps around the thing. I don't know.
And so now when there's all these people in his cabinet, he should be firing.
But
He's not.
It's the Confederacy of Dunces.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody.
It's a good book, by the way.
What a coincidence! Why would I even say that? That
They got the title from something else, though.
that
Yeah.
the new chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that guy. Everybody's been a middle manager. That nobody that was in any command, like Kristi Noem, she was middle, and Pete Greasy Hair Hegseth, he was middle.
Yeah.
And Dan, what's the name? He was a company
Well,
commander.
just think about the Surgeon General, who's not a licensed physician.
That is,
go there.
if they vote her in, they're absolutely
will.
idiots.
Well,
but
they
I mean,
are.
she knows. She goes to Stanford.
And the answer was Bobby. I don't know her. Bobby said she's good.
Well,
Good for
okay,
what?
we're wrapping up,
Who's
guys.
good?
This
Nothing-
is it. We got
nothing on
16.
Trump team is
got
good.
16 seconds to go here. That Kristi Noem wants her own $50 million plane now.
She's the dog killer.
Just ask her what habeas corpus means.
Oh yeah.
I mean, shooting puppies, I guess.
Habeas
She
corpus.
killed a goat, too.
All right,
Yeah,
we're
kill a
gonna
goat
end.
and a
We're gonna
dog.
end this on habeas corpus.
And goats and dogs.